Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. and today I am reviewing For Glory Champions. And this is a prototype. This is currently on Kickstarter, link in the description down below. And in my head, this video is going to be like 3 minutes long, which means it probably will make its way to somewhere around 10 minutes, but still short, all things considered. You see, this is an expansion review. I don't really do a lot of videos that fully cover expansions. I have maybe 2 I've done on the channel in the past. Usually it's a weird start because I have to sort of explain the base game, but I don't go fully into it. But let's make our way through it together. I don't have a list of bullet points. I don't have my usual sheet or format or any of that stuff because, like I said, expansion, so whole different category. For Glory, for context, is a game I thoroughly enjoy. I do have a full review on my channel. I'll link to that down below in case you want to see my full opinions there. And yes, be prepared for a major throwback to before I had any of this stuff set up. Operating off a coffee table, no overhead cam or anything. I don't think so. Maybe I did. I don't even remember what I had in that. Either way, it'll be a definite throwback in terms of left, right, and center, the stuff on the channel. But For Glory, it's a game I reviewed quite some time ago. The brief general overview is this is a deck builder. The original game. We're going to talk about the original game first, timestamps down below, then we'll get to the Champions expansion and what it adds. The original game is a 2-player, and this can go 1 to 4. The original game is a 2-player deck building game with gladiatorial combat and arena. And if that scares you off, ignore any of that. It's nothing to do with anything past the theme. The basic idea of the game is you have 3 separate markets in the game. 3 separate markets that you're buying cards from. You have your economy market, which usually is going to be coins or patrons or things that will give you a bit of an economy to the game. Then you have your gladiator deck. That's going to be the brunt of your forces, the main things that you actually need to play the various arenas to actually fight. And then finally, you have your tactics deck, which represent various abilities that are fun because they sway the combat of the game. They jump in, they're redirecting damage or blocking damage or adding damage or doing a variety of different effects that will basically, first of all, it's going to screw with your opponent. And then more importantly, it catches them unawares. They can't plan for what they don't see, and the tactics very much are the things they don't see. Well-timed tactics, well-placed tactics in the game can absolutely sway the tide of battle. That's the basic idea. You're going to do that until one player eventually hits 5 glory. You'll go through a few of the different arenas back, or 6 glory, 6 glory. You'll be going through a bunch of back and forths in the arena as you go head to head, attacking each other, going through gladiatorial phases. As you play gladiators into arena, you start triggering boast values, which is the amount of general, gladiator strength you have in the arena. And once you hit a certain point, you trigger combat, then you shuffle everything back into the deck or discard, and rinse and repeat until you eventually go through enough combat where you are getting these abilities as you go. These arenas have different ability cards. There's ongoing, this lasting glory and fleeting glory. Those will be different arenas that give you temporary or permanent bonuses to your general tableau. Going through that cycle again and again, draw cards, get cards into your deck, buy cards from the various markets, play cards into the arena, eventually trigger combat, use your powers and abilities. As you go through the arena, your gladiators have different strengths. They have their speed, their agility, then they have their attack and their defense. And then most importantly, they have their abilities. Combining all those together along with your patrons that you have, the abilities that you have, the various arena bonuses you have, all of those combine. Ignore my phone dinging in the background. All of those combine into basically giving you the core gameplay of For Glory, of taking out people out and getting as much glory as possible in the game. That's the base game of For Glory. I've already used up my 3 minutes. Now we go to the For Glory expansions, Champions. And Champions is bringing 4 new things to the table, 4 primary things. 2 of them will be player modes, expanding the player count to the game, and 2 of them are mechanics to the game. And, well, let's go through them one at a time. To begin with, we have this Blessings module. The Blessings are going to be various tokens that you can put onto your gladiators, and then it will negate all damage they take in a single shot. So that 6 damage attack that would have completely demolished you, you can stay alive. You won't take any damage at all. Instead, you'll simply remove a Blessings token. Now, you can't manipulate the system. You must remove a Blessings token when able, but it just adds another small new mechanic to the game. We'll talk about the review stuff and my opinions of these things after we go through all of them. Then from there, we have Champions. That's the name of the game, For Glory Champions. Champions will represent the idea that you have a champion. Each player will have a champion. You can either choose them and draft them, or just be assigned them randomly. And the champion will go into your deck, and it's a card that you can level up. When you get the champion, you can either play it so that you can actually have another gladiator in combat, or you can pay the cost to level it up to the next level, cycle into your discard pile, and then keep repeating that. And that will add a degree of choice as to, do you have your level 2 champions that's going to go into combat, or do you keep cycling it, which might mean that you might lose this current round, but you will have a stronger champion. Do you try to play the aggressive short game, or do you try to prep for the long game? So the champions add another new mechanic, not a huge difference to the game itself, but another new thing to be mindful of as you level up or augment or deal with your champion in the game. And then it adds 2 player modes to the game. It adds solo mode, where you're playing against this what's it called, Ludus Magnus deck of cards, giant deck full of cards, different reactions, a little bit of a solo AI player that you'll be fed against, simulating the two-player head-to-head game where you go through the cards, deal with the choices, but it allows you to play For Glory in a solo mode. And then you have the 3 to 4 player module, which the 3 to 4 player module, the way it handles this, and it's worth addressing this part because my biggest critique of For Glory when I reviewed it originally was the fact that it could run a little long, especially for a 2-player game, based at least on my preferences. This is a game that can run 90 minutes, and yet I feel it should be in the 60-minute range. It feels like a 60-minute game and runs around 90 minutes. But as far as the 3 to 4 player mode, 3 to 4 player mode does not actually add that much time because of the way it changes up the experience. You see, in a 3-player game, you'll be playing 3 rounds, and the final winner will be the person who wins the game. And in a 4-player game, you'll play 2 rounds, so 2 different combat rounds. And the difference there is that it doesn't really matter in terms of building up glory across the game. Rather, the winner of any combat arena will get extra cards, which will help them strengthen their tableau in the game, but ultimately, the winner of the last round is the winner. So it changes up the way the game is played, has more of an interactivity between the players, and it doesn't extend itself too long because of the way they change the endgame scoring. But it allows you to play the game at 3 and 4 players. Which brings us to review, thoughts, and all that of For Glory Champions and the way it augments the game. Starting off the bat with the easy things. The easy things are the blessings are fun. I like them. They add a new thing to the game. They're not essential. They're nice. I like them. I enjoy them. Champions are a lot more fun. Having that champion really adds a degree of decision space around, especially because there'll be multiple times during the game where you have a champion that you want to play, you want to get out early because it might help you win this turn. But then you're not leveling it up. And that means your opponent now has a level 4 champion, you're still stuck on level 2, granted you won the last 2 combats, but it looks like they're about to stomp you for the next 3, which means you're not going to win the game. And so that adds a degree of something else to be mindful of as you go through the game. I appreciate the champions, both for the powers and abilities that they provide on their own, as well as for the decision space around whether you level them up and how you deal with that choice in the game. As far as player modes, the 3 to 4 player mode works just fine. It still adds to the length of the game, not as much as you might think because of the way they adjusted and pivoted. It's not a mode that I would personally still pick. I think 2 players for me is still where I want to play For Glory, but it is nice to have the option for when you want. Having that ability to throw in a 3rd player for someone who likes the game, if it's the game you want to table, that is helpful. For me, 2 players is still the sweet spot for Glory. And that's going to hold true for solo as well. The solo experience is enjoyable. Now keep in mind, I am somebody in general, in terms of my preferences, biases, all that, I am somebody who typically, when a game has a solo mode, with rare exceptions, it's usually not the way I play the game. I play true solo quite often, and I play games that have solo modes here and there. There are exceptions. Terraforming Mars will be a notable exception, but for the most part, I like true solo when it's designed that way. And I would say For Glory, the solo mode is enjoyable. It does give you a taste of that feeling and that back and forth. It's not my preferred player spot, but understand again that I'm not someone who typically plays that genre in a game, but it's nice to have the flexibility. And that's basically For Glory Champions. Again, my opinion of For Glory in general is it's a fantastic game, truly an underrated gem. Underrated is a fascinating concept in its own right. What I would really say is forget underrated. It's a game that is not well known and is a phenomenal game. Most people who have played this game, I believe, have very positive things to say about it. Most people, not everyone. But as far as the Champions expansion, it's an easy addition to the game. It adds blessings, which are great. It adds champions, which are great. It adds a variety of ways to augment what player count you can play with, which is nice for the flexibility, although still noted, 2 players is still my favorite way to play For Glory. That is basically everything. Again, you can check this out on Kickstarter right now. Link in the description down below. This is from Spielcraft Games, For Glory, and the Champions expansion. Until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, have a good one. Told you it'd be 10 minutes. I can't do short content. Have a good one.